sahbihi wasallam. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. I testify that there is no true God worthy of worship except Allah, that Muhammad is Allah's true slave and messenger. May Allah's salah and salam be upon the noble Prophet, his household, and the noble companions, and those who follow on their path until the day of resurrection. Last night we talked about pledges, the legal and illegal pledges, in Arabic known as al-bay'ah. And also we talked about partisanship or hizbiyah. And today, in continuity on this, I would like to talk about certain practices in the Muslim world taking place in the form of so-called protests, like demonstrations, holding to one place and then protesting within this place, and also what is called strikes. Because some people in our times take everything which comes to us from the east or west, including these practices, from demonstrations and strikes and taking place, sittings in certain places, demonstrating inside a factory or inside a campus and so forth. And some people have taken these means and they consider them as means for da'wah. Alaykum as-salam. As means for da'wah. So let's look at them first, whether this is really the case or not. First of all, what is intended by demonstrations? What is intended by demonstrations? It means that a group of people will come out to a street or a main road carrying banners or shouting and yelling, demanding certain things to be done, or to show strength or the like. And this is in Arabic known as mudahara. The second type is sitting in places, sticking to that place, and this is known in Arabic as i'tisam. In our times it means to sit in one place, like the headquarters of a certain party, or sit in front of a parliament, or in factories, campuses, and the like, sitting for a certain time, not leaving, in objection for a certain thing to be corrected or demanded. This is known as i'tisam. The third is the idrabat in Arabic, which means strikes. And the origin of the term means refrainment. So if you say, I strike due to this and so forth, meaning I refuse and I deny and I hold back from doing such and such. Again, this is also becoming a practice in many societies in order to request for something. So you hold on from doing certain things, like workers, for example, refusing to go to work, demanding increases in salary, or for students, for example, having a strike not to go to school, not going to school, protesting a certain matter. These are the meanings of these actions. The question is, how did these things creep to the Islamic society? Mostly this came from the West, where it really appeared in the very beginning. Then it was transferred through mostly political and secular parties to the Muslim world. Then afterwards, it found its place with Islamic groups who imitated such a methodology, and they tried to find some kind of evidence in Sharia, in Islam, to support such practices. So what is the evidence that these Muslim groups who use these methodologies, what's the evidence that they took in order to practice and find a proof, a justification, quote unquote, for such practices? Some of them wrote in some books, and by the way, they are not scholars. Most of them are leaders of groups or thinkers or writers. They said, after the Islam of Umar, after Umar accepted Islam, may Allah be pleased with him, the Prophet ﷺ came out on the head of two groups from his companions, two rows. On one was Umar and the other was Hamza, in order to show power and show strength before Quraysh or in front of Quraysh, so that Quraysh, the pagan Arabs, know that the Muslims became strong. This narration was reported by Abu Nu'aym in his book Al-Hiliyya, and Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar reported this in his book Al-Isaba, and related it to Muhammad bin Uthman in his book of history, and he reported it in his book Al-Fath, relating it to Al-Bazzar. The narrations revolve of this incident that was reported in these references that I gave you, really revolves upon a person by the name of Ishaq bin Abdullah bin Abi Farwa. And his hadith is rejected, doesn't stand to be a proof, so the narration cannot be affirmed. Secondly, they also take as a proof the gatherings of Muslims during the times of Eid and the times of Fridays, and they think that this is in itself is evidence for the permissibility of demonstrating and sittings and showing strength. In response, we say there is no dalil, there is no evidence in this. These are acts of worship, and they are not and cannot be linked to such